If you ever want to see what $1 billion in drugs looks like, check it out right now. This is what you're seeing: $1 billion worth of cocaine, and marijuana, narcotics, caught by the efforts of the Coast Guard, the the James Cutter boat, and their partnership internationally with all the other countries that is trying to get drugs off the street. I'm gonna play a couple clips for y'all to listen to from the Admiral, I'm pretty sure, and a couple other people that was just talking about the great job that happened. We might show you some video of the actual bust that the Coast Guard made. So, check it out. Tell me what you think in the comments. It's your boy, Dancing Photog. Check it out.
Interdicted in bulk quantity at sea. The large interdictions at sea really help limit the destabilizing effect of these drugs in places like the Central American corridor, throughout the Caribbean basin. And ultimately, they keep these drugs off American streets, out of American schools, out of American communities. While it may seem that Captain Todd Vance, who's no stranger to South Florida, these drug overloads, and his crew from James single-handedly removed all these drugs, I want to call attention that this massive cache of drugs is really the collective work of many. It's 25 separate interdictions, 5 different Coast Guard cutters, including the James, that had a big part of this. They're one of our most prolific interdictors, a U.S. Navy combatant and a Dutch ship. And there was one Coast Guard interdiction done by Station San Juan. Cutter James, to my left shoulder here, is just representative of the U.S. efforts, the allied nations, and our Western Hemisphere partner contributing nations that do this important work, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, supporting the counter-narcotics mission and really uniting in service on this important operational priority.
Heroic work every single day to degrade drug trafficking organizations and disrupt the illicit supply of drugs entering our country. Thank you. Thank you all, everyone here, to their service for our nation. I'm very proud to join our federal department partners from state, from defense and justice, as well as Dr. Gupta from the White House. Thank you all for your strong, coordinated efforts to reduce illicit drug use and its harmful, heartbreaking impacts in the United States. I'm an avid proponent of layers of protection. We must not take any effective tool off the table, and to beat the chronic disease of drug addiction, we cannot just let it wash over our communities. So today we celebrate another Coast Guard and law enforcement victory to help make sure that that doesn't happen. Most illegal drugs in America are produced overseas, so disrupting shipments and reducing supplies are vital to President Biden's holistic fight against addiction and our deadly overdose epidemic. As a senior member of the House Appropriations Committee, I proudly champion robust maritime security funding with the Coast Guard every single fiscal year. And I'll continue to use my voice on that committee to support the National Security Cutter Program, which, as we can all see, is proving its mettle today. U.S. overdose deaths continue to increase at a troubling rate. So I'm very glad that under the leadership of the Biden administration, we are modernizing and expanding our ability to counter transnational criminal organizations and illicit drug trafficking. But let's face it, we cannot interdict our way out of this problem. Disrupting the flow of illegal drugs is just one way that we can make sure one family doesn't struggle through years of agony, watching a family member crumble and decay right in front of them.
President Biden has proposed a budget of $41 billion, what we call the drug control budget, that includes nearly a $700 million increase over the past year to help us save lives and stop drug traffickers from harming Americans. As we get ready to launch President Biden's inaugural national drug control strategy later this year, I have top 4 priorities with the explicit intent to save lives. Making sure that we expand naloxone to save lives right away, so where you live doesn't decide whether you get to live or die when you're suffering from an overdose. Expanding access to evidence-based treatment so people can get the help they need when and where they need it. Making sure we have proper data collection for non-fatal overdoses. And finally, and critically, going after the illicit finance mechanisms of drug traffickers so we can reduce the supply of drugs entering our communities. Between our strong maritime drug interdiction efforts on display that we will see here today, and the new sanction powers that the President recently ordered, we are hitting the drug traffickers where it hurts them the most, in their pocketbooks. The drugs that you will see today on the flight deck will not make it into our communities. Profits from the sale of these drugs will not go back to the criminal organizations that prey on Americans. These drugs will not contribute to undermining the stability of this region or this hemisphere. And that is thanks to the men and women of Coast Guard Cutter James and our federal and international partners who have stopped these drugs en route to the United States.
What we're seeing today is a multinational interagency effort to keep drugs off our streets and in our communities. And this is an effort, what you see on the ship is an effort that will amount to over $1 billion worth of drug, narcotics, transnational organized crime financing that won't get there. And I think that's really important. This is part of a comprehensive strategy, an interagency strategy between the State Department, Department of Justice, law enforcement officials, our elected officials, to keep these drugs out of our community.
Not only the Department of Homeland Security, but also the Department of State, the Department of Defense, the Department of Justice, Middle District of Florida, and others. Today is a powerful illustration of our collective effort to combat transnational organizations, criminal organizations, and protect the health and safety of communities across our country. The cartels responsible for trafficking the massive quantity of narcotics that you'll soon see being offloaded today have links to criminal activity including human trafficking, weapons violations, political corruption, and other illicit activities which impact our citizens and also the citizens of our partner nations throughout the hemisphere. A critical piece of our government-wide strategy to disrupt these criminal networks is the Maritime Interdiction Program. Interdiction of traffickers on the high seas disrupts the illegal flow of narcotics, drives the traffickers to use less efficient routes and methods, and provides valuable evidence for our prosecutions of the offenders, and ultimately, as we've heard before from other speakers, prevents significant amounts of drugs from getting into the United States and into the hands of our people. The United States Coast Guard, along with all of its domestic and foreign law enforcement partners, are relentless in their pursuit of maritime drug traffickers. And this is another moment where I couldn't be prouder to count the Department of Justice as a partner to their efforts.